Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the TDS Harmony and watched the stars streak past in brilliant lines of light. The ship moved through space at incredible speed, but inside everything felt calm and peaceful. This was how she liked it. Lisa had spent 10 years working for the Terran diplomatic corps, and she believed deeply that talking was always better than fighting. The year was 2387, and humanity had spread across many star systems. They had met dozens of alien species and almost always found ways to work together. Earth was famous throughout the galaxy for solving problems without violence. The diplomatic corps had ended 3 major wars just by getting everyone to sit down and talk. Lisa walked over to her communications officer Amy Foster, who was studying incoming messages. Amy had bright red hair and always wore a smile. She was the best at understanding alien cultures that Lisa had ever met. Amy looked up from her screen and spoke in an excited voice. "We just got a distress signal from the Kepler system. Captain, 3 different species are fighting over territory, and they want Earth to help them find peace." Lisa nodded slowly. She had handled similar situations before, but something about this felt different. The Kepler system was far from Earth, and she wondered why the message had taken so long to reach them. "Tell me more about these species." Amy pulled up holographic displays, showing 3 very different alien races. The first were tall, reptilian creatures with dark green scales and sharp teeth. Their ships looked like metal daggers covered in weapon ports. "Those are the Vorthok Empire," Amy said. "They control about 50 star systems, and they are known for being very aggressive. They believe that strong species should rule over weak ones." The second display showed insect-like beings with multiple arms and compound eyes. Their ships were round and covered in what looked like organic material. "The Katini Collective," Amy continued. "They used to have a huge empire, but something happened to their home worlds. Now they live in giant spaceships and look for new places to settle. They are desperate but usually peaceful." The third display showed humans living in simple colony settlements. Their ships were basic transport vessels with minimal defenses. "And those are our people," Amy finished. "About 50,000 human colonists who settled on Kepler 44 to be about 20 years ago. They were just farming and mining when this territorial dispute started." Lisa studied the displays carefully. She could see that the human colonists were completely outmatched. The Vorthok had massive warships, and the Katini had superior numbers. The humans had nothing but farming equipment and basic tools. At that moment, the bridge doors opened and Princess Silvereth Moonwhisper entered the room. Lisa felt her heart beat faster whenever she saw the elf princess. Silvereth was tall and graceful with long silver hair and eyes like stars. She represented the Aetherian elves who lived in the Silverleaf Nebula system. Silvereth moved like she was dancing. Even when she was just walking, she wore flowing robes that seemed to change color in different light. The elves were Earth's closest allies, and they often helped with difficult negotiations. "I heard about the distress signal," Silvereth said in her musical voice. "The Aetherian Council has agreed to let me observe the negotiations, if you think it would help." Lisa smiled. She always felt more confident when Silvereth was nearby. The elf princess had a way of making everyone feel calm and reasonable. Even the most angry negotiators usually became peaceful when she spoke to them. "That would be wonderful," Lisa replied. "I have a feeling this situation might be more complicated than usual." Commander Rebecca Stone approached from the tactical station. She was a military officer who had been assigned to the Harmony against her will. Rebecca believed that diplomacy was a waste of time, and that problems should be solved with superior firepower. She was short and muscular with scars from old battles. Captain Stone said in a rough voice, "My analysis shows that the Vorthok Empire has enough ships to destroy both the Katini and the human colonists without breaking a sweat. Why are they even bothering with negotiations?" Had wondered the same thing. The Vorthok were known for taking what they wanted through force they had never asked for. Earth mediation before. Maybe they want to avoid a long war, Lisa suggested. If they can get what they want through talking, it saves them time and resources. Rebecca shook her head. "I don't trust it. Captain, something feels wrong about this whole situation. The Vorthok don't negotiate unless they have something to gain that they can't get through. Fighting Silvereth moved closer to Lisa and spoke quietly. I sense great anger and pain from the Katini signals. They are hiding something important about why they need this territory so badly. Amy pulled up more detailed scans of the Kepler system. The disputed area contained several planets and asteroid fields that were rich in rare minerals. One planet in particular showed massive deposits of quantum crystals. Those crystals are incredibly valuable, Amy said. They are essential for faster-than-light travel and communication. Without them, a species gets stuck in their home system. Lisa began to understand why this situation was so dangerous. The Vorthok wanted the crystals to expand their empire. The Katini needed them to keep their refugee fleets running. The human colonists were just in the way-set course for the Kepler system. Lisa ordered we leave in 2 hours. Send messages to all 3 parties and tell them that Earth is coming too. Help them find a peaceful solution as the crew prepared for departure. Lisa stood with Silvereth, looking out at the stars. She felt a strange mixture of hope and worry. Humanity had solved many problems through patient negotiation, but she sensed that this time might be different. The Vorthok are very proud, Silvereth said softly. They see patience as weakness and kindness as stupidity. If they agreed to negotiations, it means they think they can get everything they want without giving up anything important. Lisa nodded. She had dealt with proud species before, but the Vorthok were different. They truly believed that might made right, and that peaceful species deserved to be conquered. We'll find a way, she said. We always do. Humanity has never failed to bring peace to a conflict as the harmony jumped to faster than light speed. Lisa hoped her confidence was justified. Deep in her heart, she felt that this mission would test everything she believed about the power of peaceful negotiation. Away in the Kepler system, Admiral Sexton of the Vorthok Empire received word that Earth diplomats were coming. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He had been waiting for a chance to show the galaxy that human peace was nothing but weakness soon. He thought everyone would learn that the age of talking was over. The age of Vorthok dominance was about to begin. The TDS Harmony arrived at the Kepler system 3 days later. Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge watching the tactical display that showed dozens of ships. Positioned around the disputed planets, the Vorthok fleet looked like a collection of metal predators waiting to strike. Their ships were twice the size of anything else in the system, and covered with weapon ports that gleamed in the starlight. The Katini vessels were completely different. They looked organic and alive, like giant insects floating in space. Some were clearly damaged with scorch marks and missing sections. Lisa could see why Amy had called them desperate. Human colony ships were pathetic in comparison. They were converted cargo haulers with basic shields and no weapons at all. Lisa wondered how her people had survived this long surrounded by 2 hostile fleets. Transmission came through from the lead Vorthok ship. Admiral Zexton appeared on the main screen. He was larger than most of his species, with dark green scales that looked like armor. His eyes were bright yellow and filled with contempt. So Earth sends another talking human to waste our time, the Admiral said in a voice like grinding metal. I am Admiral Zexton of the Vorthok 3rd Battle Fleet. We agreed to these negotiations only to show the galaxy how weak your species has become. Lisa kept her expression calm, even though she felt anger rising in her chest. She had dealt with bullies before, and she knew that showing emotion would only encourage them. Admiral Zexton, she said in a steady voice. I am Captain Lisa Martinez representing Earth and the Galactic Peace Initiative. We are here to help all parties find a solution that works for everyone. The Admiral laughed, and the sound made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. Silvereth stepped closer to Lisa and whispered that she could sense great cruelty from the Vorthok leader. There is only one solution, human. Admiral Zex then continued. The strong take what they need, and the weak accept what they are given. This system belongs to the Vorthok Empire now. Your colonists can leave, or they can feed our war beasts. The choice is theirs. Before Lisa could respond, another transmission came through. This one was from Queen Zeke. Of the Katini collective, the insect queen had 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. Her voice buzzed like a swarm of bees. Captain Martinez Queen, Sekra said, "My people are dying. We have been traveling through space for 50 years looking for a new home. The quantum crystals in this system are the only thing that can power our life. Support systems long enough to reach the next galaxy." Lisa felt sympathy for the Katini Queen, but she also noticed something important. The Queen had said they needed to reach the next galaxy. That meant they were planning to leave this area entirely if they got what they needed. "How many crystals do you need?" Lisa asked. "Enough to power our fleet for 100 years. Queen Zek replied, "We do not wish to fight, but our children will die without those crystals. We have already lost 3 Ark ships to system failures." Zexton made a dismissive gesture with his clawed hand. "The Katini are a failed species," he said. "They had their chance to build a strong empire, and they wasted it on art and philosophy. Now they come begging for scraps like the weak creatures they are." Lisa saw Queen Zekra stiffen with anger, but the insect leader controlled herself. Lisa realized that the Katini were much more desperate than they had appeared. The loss of 3 Ark ships meant thousands of deaths. A third transmission joined the conversation. This time, it was Colonel Maria Santos, representing the human colonists. She was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "Captain Martinez," Colonel Santos said, "thank God you are here. The Vorthok have been making threats for weeks. They say we have no right to the minerals we have been mining for 20 years." Admiral Zexton turned his yellow eyes toward the human colonel. "You have no right, because you have no strength," he said. "Your people are farmers and miners. You contribute nothing to galactic civilization. The Vorthok will put these resources to better use." Lisa had heard enough. She activated the conference mode so all parties could see each other at the same time. "I propose we meet aboard the Harmony for formal negotiations," she said. "We can discuss how to divide the resources fairly so that everyone gets what they need." Admiral Zexton showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "Very well, human. We will humor your peaceful ways for a few days. But do not mistake our patience for weakness." So over the next several hours, representatives from all 3 factions came aboard the Harmony. Lisa set up the main conference room with comfortable seating and refreshments. She had learned that people negotiated better when they were comfortable. Dr. Amy Foster had prepared detailed reports on each species, showing their needs and capabilities. Lisa studied the information, while Silvereth helped prepare the meeting space. The elf princess had a gift for creating calming environments. The negotiations began the next morning. Admiral Zexton brought 2 other Vorthok officers who looked just as aggressive as their leader. Queen Zekra came with scientific advisors who could explain exactly what the Katini needed. Colonel Santos brought mining experts who knew every detail about the crystal deposits. For 3 days they talked. Lisa used every technique she had learned in diplomatic training. She found common ground between the parties. She suggested compromises and creative solutions. She even got Admiral Zexton to admit that the Vorthok Empire might benefit from having the Katini as allies instead of enemies. Dar. Amy Foster made an important discovery during the second day of talks. Her scans showed that there were enough quantum crystals in the system to meet everyone's needs. The Vorthok could have enough to expand their empire. The Katini could power their ships for the journey to the next galaxy. The human colonists could keep mining other valuable minerals. But Admiral Zexton became more impatient with each passing hour. He clearly believed that negotiating was beneath him. Several times he made comments about weak species and the natural order of things. On the 3rd day, Queen Zekra made a desperate offer to Colonel Santos. She proposed that the Katini would help defend the human colonies in exchange for mining rights. The insect species had advanced defensive technology that could protect the colonists from future threats. Lisa thought this was an excellent solution. The humans would be safer. The Katini would get their crystals and the Vorthok could still claim the largest share of resources. It seemed like everyone could win, but Admiral Zexton stood up suddenly, his scales darkening with anger. Enough of this talking, he snarled. The Vorthok Empire does not make deals with insects and farmers. We take what we want from those too weak to stop. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She could see that the Admiral had never intended to negotiate seriously. He had been waiting for an excuse to attack Admiral. Please, she said, there is enough for everyone, if we just work together. The reptilian leader leaned forward, and his yellow eyes burned with hatred. You humans disgust me with your weakness, he said. You think the universe cares about fairness and cooperation. The only truth is power. The species with the strongest weapons make the ruler Selvaerth, touched Lisa's arm gently. The elf princess had gone very pale, and her star-like eyes were filled with worry. Admiral Zexton turned toward the door, but before leaving he delivered one final threat. You have 24 hours to evacuate your colonists, he told Colonel Santos. After that, my fleet will demonstrate why the Vorthok Empire rules 50 star systems. As the Vorthok delegation left, Lisa felt her hopes for peaceful resolution crumbling. She had believed that patient negotiation could solve any problem, but Admiral Zexton had shown her that some beings were simply too proud and cruel to accept compromise. Queen Sekra approached Lisa with her advisors. The insect queen buzzing voice was filled with sadness. I am sorry, Captain Martinez, she said. We offered to share our defensive technology with your colonists, but I fear it will not be enough against a full Vorthok battle fleet. Colonel Santos looked defeated. She had spent 20 years building a peaceful mining colony, and now it might all be destroyed because of one admiral's arrogance. Lisa made a decision that would change everything. She activated her emergency communicator and sent a priority message directly to Earth. This is Captain Martinez aboard the TDS Harmony, she said. Diplomatic solution has failed. Request immediate authorization to implement emergency protocols. The response came back within hours, and it contained just 2 words: authorization granted. Admiral Zexton kept his promise. The Vorthok fleet attacked the human colony exactly 24 hours after the failed negotiations. Lisa Martinez watched in horror from the bridge of the Harmony as reptilian warships opened fire on what they thought were defenseless farming settlements. The Admiral had expected to see explosions and fleeing civilians instead. He witnessed something that shocked him to his core. The human colony was not defenseless. At all, hidden defensive platforms rose from beneath the surface of Kepler 442b. Energy shields that had been disguised as mining equipment suddenly activated advanced fighter craft launched from underground hangars that nobody had suspected existed. The Vorthok attack force of 12 heavy cruisers met a defensive network that had been secretly built over 20 years. Colonel Maria Santos had not been commanding a simple mining operation. She had been overseeing one of Earth's most sophisticated military installations. Within 6 hours, the entire Vorthok attack force was destroyed. Admiral Zexton lost his flagship and barely escaped in a damaged escape pod. The reptilian leader who had boasted about Vorthok's strength found himself floating helplessly in space, waiting for rescue. Lisa received word of the battle results while she was still trying to process what had happened. She had lived her entire adult life believing that Earth was a peaceful civilization. Now she discovered that her own people had been hiding incredible military capabilities. Dr. Amy Foster pulled up classified files that had suddenly become available to the diplomatic corps. The information showed that every human colony had similar hidden defenses. Earth had been secretly preparing for exactly this kind of situation. Captain Silvereth said in her musical voice that now carried notes of sadness. I do not understand. How could your people build such weapons while preaching peace throughout the galaxy? Lisa felt confused and angry. She had dedicated her life to diplomatic solutions, only to learn that Earth had been lying to everyone, including their own diplomatic representatives. A priority message came through from Earth General Patricia Hayes appeared on the main screen. She was a stern woman with gray hair and eyes like steel. Lisa recognized her former mentor from the Diplomatic Academy. Captain Martinez, General Hayes said the Terran Diplomatic Corps is being dissolved immediately. You and your crew will report to Earth for reassignment to the new Terran Defense Initiative. Annie Civelis felt like her world was falling apart. Everything she had worked for was being thrown away, because one alien admiral had been too proud to accept a reasonable compromise. General, what about our mission here? Lisa asked. What about helping the Katini and protecting our colonists? General Hayes' expression softened slightly. That mission continues, Captain, but now we protect our people and our allies with honest strength instead of hidden weakness. The age of pretending to be helpless is over. Over the following weeks, Lisa learned the truth about humanity's real capabilities. Earth had developed the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but had chosen to hide it to avoid frightening other species. The peaceful diplomatic approach had been genuine, but it had been backed by incredible military power that nobody suspected. The Harmony was recalled to Earth along with the rest of the diplomatic fleet. Lisa watched sadly as her beautiful ship was retrofitted with weapon systems and armor plating. The vessel that had once carried messages of peace was being transformed into an instrument of war. Vareth chose to stay with Lisa, even though the Etherean Council was deeply troubled by Earth's transformation. The elf princess understood that her friend was struggling with the changes. You are still the same person, Silvereth told Lisa one evening as they watched Earth technicians install missile launchers on the Harmony. Your desire for peace has not changed, only the tools you have to achieve it. Lisa appreciated her friend's support, but she felt like everything she had believed was a lie. How could Earth claim to value peace while secretly building the most powerful military in the galaxy? The answer came from General Hayes during a briefing for all former diplomatic personnel. We built these defenses because we hoped we would never need them. The general explained. Every weapon, every shield, every hidden base was created with the prayer that they would gather dust forever. We wanted to be strong enough that nobody would be stupid enough to start a war. Lisa began to understand Earth's strategy. They had been genuinely committed to peaceful solutions, but they had also been prepared for the possibility that some species would refuse to be reasonable. 6 months after the attack on the Kepler colony, Lisa found herself commanding the TDS Retribution, a heavily armed warship that had once been a diplomatic vessel. Her crew included many of her old friends, but their mission was completely different. Now Dr. Amy Foster had become a military intelligence officer specializing in alien psychology. Commander Rebecca Stone was finally happy to be serving on a proper warship instead of what she had called a flying conference room. The galaxy had changed dramatically after news of the Vorthok defeat spread. Many species that had been allied with Earth out of respect began allying with them out of fear. Others who had been neutral started choosing sides as they realized a major war was coming. Queen Zekra of the Katini Collective sent a formal alliance offer to Earth. The insect species offered to share their advanced hivemind tactical systems in exchange for protection and access to quantum crystals. The deal was quickly approved. Meanwhile, the Vorthok Empire was mobilizing for total war. Admiral Zexton had been stripped of command for his failure, but he was already plotting revenge. The reptilian species could not accept that they had been defeated by what they saw as a weak farming civilization. Intelligence reports showed that the Vorthok were calling in allies from across their empire. Species that had been conquered or intimidated by reptilian forces were being pressed into service. The Vorthok military was 3 times larger than anyone had realized. Lisa studied tactical reports in her new ready room aboard the Retribution. She was learning that command of a warship required very different skills than diplomatic negotiation. Instead of finding common ground, she had to identify enemy weaknesses. Instead of building trust, she had to anticipate betrayal. Lieutenant Commander Ashley Davis joined her for the evening briefing. Ashley was a young tactical officer who had developed what she called the Terran Gambit, a new battle strategy based on using enemy assumptions. Against them, the Vorthok still think we are weak, Ashley explained. They know we have hidden weapons now, but they assume we are still basically peaceful farmers who got lucky once we can use that assumption to set traps. Lisa was impressed by Ashley's creativity, but she worried about what humanity was becoming. The young officer talked about enemy casualties like they were numbers on a spreadsheet. There was no emotion, no regret, just cold calculation. We becoming like them? Lisa asked. Are we turning into the kind of species that solves problems with violence? Ashley looked surprised by the question. Captain, she said, we are not starting wars, we are ending them. The Vorthok have been conquering and enslaving species for centuries. We are just making sure they cannot do it anymore. That night, Lisa stood in her quarters. Looking out at the stars, she could see the lights of Earth. Factories working around the clock to build ships and weapons. The peaceful blue planet she had grown up on was transforming itself into a fortress. Silverworth joined her at the observation window. The elf princess had been appointed as a cultural advisor to help Earth understand alien psychology. Your people are changing, she said softly. But the change is not what you fear. They are not becoming cruel or aggressive. They are simply choosing to be honest about their strength. Lisa hoped Silverith was right, but she wondered what would happen when the war was over. Would humanity be able to return to peaceful ways, or would they become permanently militarized? A priority alert interrupted her thoughts. The communication system announced an incoming message from the Kepler system. Admiral Zexton had returned with a massive Vorthok invasion fleet. He was demanding that Earth surrender all human colonies, or face total war. Lisa felt a mix of sadness and determination. She had wanted to be a peacemaker, but Admiral Zexton had made that impossible. Now she would have to be a warrior. Instead, the message ended with Admiral Zexton, personal threat to Lisa. Remember, you talking human. He said, you thought words could stop the Vorthok Empire. Soon, you will learn that only strength matters in this universe. Lisa activated the ship communications and addressed her Crowell hands. This is the captain, she announced. We are going to war. Not because we want to, but because someone was stupid enough to think that peaceful people are weak people. They are about to learn how wrong they were. As the Retribution and dozens of other Earth ships jumped to faster than light speed, Lisa reflected on how much her life had changed. She had been a diplomat who believed in the power of negotiation. Now she was a military commander preparing to demonstrate the power of superior technology. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth had been holding back not out of weakness, but out of mercy. That mercy had just run out. The war that Admiral Zexton started lasted exactly 18 months and 12 days. The galaxy watched in amazement as the supposedly peaceful humans revealed military capabilities that surpassed anything anyone had imagined. Captain Lisa Martinez commanded the TD's Retribution during the Battle of Proxima Station, where human forces first demonstrated their true power. Admiral Janet Miller had assembled a fleet of 200 Earth warships to face a Vorthok invasion force of over 600 vessels. The reptilian commanders expected an easy victory. They had overwhelming numbers, and their ships were larger than the human vessels. But Admiral Zexton had made a critical mistake. He had underestimated Earth technology for the second time. Commander Ashley Davis executed her Terran gambit perfectly. The human fleet appeared to retreat in panic, drawing the Vorthok ships into a carefully prepared trap. Hidden weapon platforms throughout the system activated simultaneously, targeting the reptilian fleet with weapons that nobody had seen before. Rachel Green had spent 10 years developing quantum disruption cannons that could tear apart enemy ships at the molecular level. The weapons had been disguised as mining equipment and scientific instruments throughout human space. When they finally fired, the Vorthok fleet simply disintegrated. Admiral Zexton watched from his flagship as 300 of his ships were destroyed in less than an hour. The human retreat had been a deception, and he had fallen for it completely. The remaining Vorthok vessels fled the system in terror. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. Within days, species that had been neutral in the conflict began choosing sides. Many decided that alliance with Earth was much safer than opposition. The Ithir elves formally joined the war after Princess Silvereth convinced their council. Silvereth had struggled with the decision. Her people valued art and beauty over warfare, but she had seen Admiral Zextan cruelty firsthand, and she knew that some enemies could only be stopped through force. I do not like violence, she told Lisa after the Etherean fleet arrived at Earth, but I like slavery and genocide even less. The have shown what they do to peaceful species. The Katini Alliance proved crucial to human success. Queen Zebra hive mind coordination abilities allowed human and insect fleets to work together with perfect timing. The combination of human unpredictability and Katini precision was devastating to Vorthok battle plans. Captain Michelle Turner led special operations missions that liberated dozens of worlds from Vorthok control. She discovered that the reptilian empire had been built on the conquest and enslavement of weaker species. Many of these subject races immediately joined the human alliance. The war revealed the true scope of Earth's hidden preparations. Every human colony had defensive systems that could destroy entire fleets. Mining stations were actually military bases. Civilian transport ships could transform into combat vessels within minutes. Amy Foster analyzed captured Vorthok communications and made a disturbing discovery. The reptilian empire had been planning systematic genocide of over 40 alien species. They considered most other races to be inferior and wanted to eliminate them entirely. This information changed the nature of the conflict. What had started as a territorial dispute became a war for the survival of galactic civilization. Earth was not just defending human colonies anymore. They were protecting every peaceful species in known space. Admiral Zexton grew increasingly desperate as his forces suffered defeat. After defeat, he began using tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Vorthok ships attacked hospital stations, refugee convoys, and neutral planets. These atrocities only strengthened Earth resolve. Captain Lisa Martinez found herself leading missions to rescue civilians from attacks. She had wanted to be a peacemaker, but the war had made her into something else entirely. You have become what your people needed, Silvereth told her. After a particularly difficult rescue operation, you are still fighting for peace, Captain. You are just using different methods now. The turning point came during the siege of Vorthok. Prime Admiral Janet Miller assembled the largest human fleet in history over the reptilian homeworld. The planet was defended by massive orbital fortresses that had never been successfully attacked. Dr. Rachel Green had been working on humanity's most secret weapon project, dimensional bombardment systems that could bypass any defense. The technology had been theoretical until Admiral Zexton forced Earth to make it real. The siege lasted only 6 hours. Human dimensional weapons simply ignored Vorthok shields and armor. The orbital fortresses that had protected the reptilian homeworld for centuries were reduced to scrap metal in minutes. Admiral finally understood what he had done by attacking Earth. Humanity had been the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy all along. They had simply chosen to hide their capabilities to avoid frightening other civilizations. Standing on the bridge of his dying flagship, Admiral Zexton sent one final message to Captain Martinez. You have one talking human, he said, but his voice had lost all its arrogance. I thought your peace was weakness. I was wrong. Your peace was mercy, and I threw that mercy away. Lissa felt no satisfaction in the Admiral defeat. She had never wanted to be a military commander, and the cost of victory weighed heavily on her conscience. Millions had died because one leader had been too proud to accept compromise. Vorthok Empire surrendered unconditionally after their homeworld fell. Apart from Admiral Zexton, most of the reptilian leadership agreed to war crimes trials in exchange for the protection of civilian populations. Queen Zekra addressed the Galactic Council after the war ended. The insect leader spoke for all of Earth's allies when she described what humanity had accomplished. The humans could have conquered us all, she said. They had the power to rule the galaxy through fear, like the Vorthok. Instead, they chose to protect the weak and liberate the enslaved. This is why they deserve to lead. Species across the galaxy began requesting Earth protection. Human fleets were stationed in dozens of systems, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy had a new order based on the principle that strength should serve. Just as Captain Michelle Turner was promoted to Admiral and put in charge of the new Galactic Defense Force, her job was to make sure that no other species would repeat the mistake of confusing human patience with human weakness. The former Vorthok territory was divided among the species. They had conquered human administrators, worked with local leaders to establish democratic governments, and ensure that the transition was peaceful. Our Amy Foster became the first director of the Interspecies Cultural Institute. Her mission was to help different civilizations understand each other better so that future conflicts could be resolved through negotiation instead of warfare. Lisa Martinez found herself dealing with the aftermath of victory. She had commanded a warship during humanity's first major interstellar conflict, but she had never stopped being a diplomat at heart. The hardest part was accepting that sometimes peace could only be achieved through superior firepower. Earth had wanted to solve problems through talking, but Admiral Zexton had made that impossible. As she stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching former Vorthok worlds celebrate their liberation, Lisa reflected on the lessons of the war. Humanity had learned that being strong was not enough. They also had to be willing to use that strength when peaceful methods failed. The galaxy was safer now, but the cost had been enormous. Entire species had been nearly extinct before human intervention arrived. Billions had suffered under Vorthok rule because Earth had been too concerned about appearing peaceful ever again, Lisa thought. The next time someone threatens innocent people, humanity will not wait for them to attack first. They will act quickly to prevent atrocities before they happen. Princess Silvereth joined her at the observation deck. The elf had become Lisa's closest friend and advisor during the war. Their relationship had grown stronger through shared hardship. "What are you thinking about?" Silvereth asks. Lisa looked out at the stars that now seemed much less peaceful than they had before. "The war has changed everything," she said. "Humanity can never go back to pretending we are weak." Silvereth smiled sadly. "No," she agreed, "but perhaps that is not such a bad thing. The galaxy needs protectors, and your people have proven they can be trusted with great power." As reports came in of celebrations across dozens of liberated worlds, Lisa began to believe that maybe Silvereth was right. Earth had not become conquerors like the Vorthok. They had become guardians, and that made all the difference. 5 years after the end of the Vorthok War, the galaxy enjoyed unprecedented peace under human protection. Captain Lisa Martinez had finally found her calling as the founder and director of the new Diplomatic Defense Corps, an organization that combined her two most important skills. Standing before the Galactic Council on New Geneva Station, Lisa reflected on how much everything had changed. The Great Chamber was filled with representatives from over 200 species, many of whom owed their freedom to Earth intervention. The trial of Admiral Zexton had concluded 6 months earlier. Lisa had served as the chief prosecutor. Despite her diplomatic background, the former Vorthok leader had been found guilty of genocide and crimes against sentient beings. He would spend the rest of his life in a rehabilitation facility on Earth, learning about the civilizations he had tried to destroy. Many people had expected Earth to execute the Admiral for his crimes, but humanity had chosen a different path. They wanted to prove that justice did not require revenge, that strength could be tempered with mercy. Today, Lisa was addressing the Council about the new Galactic Protection Treaty, a comprehensive agreement that would prevent future wars through early intervention and mutual defense. The treaty had been signed by 140 species, with more joining every month. Representatives, we have learned important lessons from the Vorthok conflict. Lisa began speaking to the assembled delegates. Earth wanted peace, and we prepared for war. We got both because we understood that true peace requires the strength to defend it. Ambassador Kayla Brooks sat in the front row, smiling proudly at her former student. Kayla had returned to diplomatic service after the war, and now served as Earth chief negotiator. She specialized in helping former Vorthok subject species establish their own governments. In the audience, Lisa could see Queen Zekra of the Katini Collective, who had become one of Earth's strongest allies. The insect species had used their promised quantum crystals to rebuild their civilization in a beautiful nebula system that they shared with 3 other refugee species. Dr. Amy Foster had been promoted to Director of Interspecies Relations and was working to prevent future misunderstandings between different cultures. Her research had shown that most conflicts started because species made assumptions about each other based on limited information. The delegation was led by Princess Silvereth, who had married Lisa in a ceremony that symbolized the alliance between their species. The wedding had been attended by representatives from 50 worlds and had become a symbol of interspecies cooperation. Rebecca Stone, now Admiral Stone, commanded the Home Defense fleet that protected Earth and the Sol system. She had finally gotten the military assignment she had always wanted, and took great satisfaction in knowing that no enemy would ever threaten humanity homeworld. Captain Michelle Turner had become the most famous human in the galaxy after her liberation of the Vorthok slave worlds. She now led the Rapid Response Force that could deploy to any threatened system within days. Her reputation alone was often enough to deter potential aggressors. Dr. Rachel Green continued her weapons research, but now focused on defensive technologies. Her latest project was a planetary shield system that could protect entire worlds from orbital bombardment. The technology was being shared freely with any species that requested it. The former Vorthok territory had been transformed into a federation of independent worlds, governed by the species that had once been enslaved. The transition had taken 3 years and required careful mediation, but it had been accomplished without violence. Many former Vorthok soldiers had requested to join human military units as a form of penance for their past crimes. They underwent extensive rehabilitation and cultural training before being allowed to serve Earth, had learned that redemption was possible, even for former enemies. Admiral Janet Miller commanded the Galactic Defense Force from her flagship, the TDS Unity. The massive vessel served as both a military command center and a mobile diplomatic station. It could provide humanitarian aid, defend against attackers, or host peace negotiations as circumstances required. The success of human leadership had attracted criticism from some quarters. A few species complained that Earths had too much influence over galactic affairs. They argued that no single civilization should have so much power, even if they used it responsibly. Addressed these concerns directly in her speech to the Council. We did not seek this responsibility, she said, but when the Vorthok threatened innocent civilizations, we could not stand by and watch. Human strength exists to serve justice, not to dominate others. Any species that believes they can do better is welcome to try. The challenge was never taken up. Most species recognize that Earth had proven its commitment to protecting the weak and liberating the oppressed. Human fleets were stationed throughout the galaxy, but they served as guardians, not occupiers. The Kepler system, where the conflict had begun, was now a thriving hub of interspecies cooperation. The quantum crystal mines were operated jointly by humans, Katini, and several species that had been freed from Vorthok. Control the profits-funded schools, hospitals, and research facilities. Colonel Maria Santos had been promoted to planetary governor and oversaw the transformation of Kepler 44 to be from a simple mining colony into a model of peaceful cooperation. Children from dozens of species played together in schools that taught tolerance and understanding. The war had cost millions of lives and caused immeasurable suffering, but it had also created something beautiful. A galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest, where differences were celebrated instead of feared. Lisa concluded her address to the Galactic Council with words that had become Earth's unofficial motto. Humanity wanted peace, she said. We prepared for war. We achieved both, because we learned that sometimes the best way to preserve peace is to be ready to fight for it. We hope that no one will be stupid enough to test that resolve again. The council gave her a standing ovation that lasted for several minutes. Representatives from species that had once been enemies of Earth now stood beside human allies, applauding the wisdom that had brought peace to the galaxy. After the session, Lisa walked through the observation deck of New Geneva Station with Silvereth at her side. They could see ships from dozens of worlds docking at the massive space station, bringing diplomats, traders, and tourists from across known space. Do you ever miss the old days? Silvereth asked, when we believed that words alone could solve every problem. Lisa smiled and took her wife's hand. I miss the innocence, she admitted, but I do not miss the helplessness Earth needed to grow up. The galaxy needed us to stop pretending we were weak. They watched as a group of young beings from various species played together in the stationed recreational area. The children did not see differences between humans, elves, insects, or any of the other races represented. They saw only friends. This is what we fought for, Lisa realized, not territory or resources or even justice, but the right of all species to live together in PCA. Priority message interrupted her thoughts. Admiral Miller was reporting from the Outer Rim, where long-range sensors had detected signs of an unknown civilization. The new species appeared to be aggressive, and was attacking neutral shipping. Lisa's sighed and activated her communicator. It appeared that another lesson in galactic diplomacy might be necessary. Admiral Miller, this is Director Martinez, she said. Dispatch first contact protocol teams to the area, and make sure they understand our position. We want peace. We will accept peace. We will enforce peace. The choice is theirs. As always, Earth would offer the hand of friendship first. But if that hand was rejected, they were prepared to show their strength. Admiral Zexton legacy lived on, as a reminder that some beings only understood power. The galaxy had learned that human patience should never be mistaken for human weakness. Earth had wanted peace until someone got stupid enough to start a war that someone had learned too late. That humanity mercy was a gift, not a weakness. Now the stars themselves seemed more peaceful, knowing that Earth fleets watched over them, ready to defend the innocent and punish the aggressive. The age of conquest was over. The age of protection had begun. Lisa Martinez had started as a diplomat who believed in the power of words. She had become a warrior who understood the necessity of strength. Now, she was something new, entirely a guardian, who knew that true peace could only exist when good people were strong enough to defend it. The galaxy was safer because humanity had learned to balance compassion with capability. They had proven that advanced civilizations could choose cooperation over domination. That strength could serve justice rather than ambition. And somewhere in a rehabilitation facility on Earth, former Admiral Zexton spent his days learning about the species he had tried to destroy, slowly beginning to understand the civilization that had defeated him through superior technology, guided by superior values. The war was over, the peace had begun, and humanity stood ready to defend both with equal determination.